It was 2019, and now we were ready. After all of these stories, each bringing different elements to the table, good and bad, it's time for it all to come together in this final story. But not quite yet. Yeah, before getting to that, I want to cover some of the more miscellaneous items in here, just so that I don't miss too much and have to make a bonus video or something dumb like that. So yeah, there's actually a lot I didn't cover here, starting with Trial Mode. Trial Mode has you playing old levels but with a different goal in mind, having 2 ranks above the one I know you see, because it doesn't always have to be that way, as it goes up. Highest is A though, and this isn't a typical ranking system like you'd find in other games. It specifically ranks on whether or not you complete the mission, not what criteria you fall in. This differs from each character though, like Sonic having to complete a level in a certain amount of time, or Big having to catch El Pescado Grande. If you like time trials like me, you'll get a kick out of Sonic and Tails' stages for this. Going fast in these levels is a lot of fun, and working with the spin dash just makes it even more so. The only problems I'd say is that we still have lives for some reason, which never really got in the way but was still strange, and we could restart from the previous checkpoint, making it not really a time trial but a segmented one. Either way, these are still fun though, and bring even more to do with your favorite characters, whoever they may be. You can also do this with some sub-games, and even get unique scenarios like Sonic and Sand Hill. You're also able to play the hover cart part again from Twinkle Park, this time with a completely new course. Though, like I said earlier, I'm not too much of a fan of the controls here, so this wasn't my thing. You could also play some of the other sub-games as well, but these ones don't have new courses, so only play them if you're looking for the emblems, or if you're just some kind of monster that actually likes Sky Chase. You know, speaking of that, in the original Sky Chase, there was something more engaging here, being this monster, that I guess you would have to fight while orbiting the egg carrier, which sounds awesome. So awesome that they decided it couldn't even be near Sky Chase and got rid of it, which is a shame. I feel like he could have totally saved it, having to keep him under control as we also deal with the egg carrier. Alas, it wasn't meant to be. Getting back to the trials though, they were a great addition and are a good way of adding more content to the game, and even more content to come with the DX version. Yeah, I try not to mention that this is the DX port because I see this as more of a review of the original Dreamcast version, but DX did add a few things too. The first one is a big one, and it's mission mode. In the hub worlds you could find these little cards and listen to you to do, well, missions, whether that be something in the hub world or a level. There seems to be a lot of these too, with this whole nifty chart apparently stating that there's 60 of them. And honestly, I barely bothered with this. I didn't see any incentive to do them anyway. You don't get an emblem or anything else, they're just purely for fun. More content, you don't say? Well, ask and ye shall receive, because there's also the Chao Garden, one of the most talked about parts of this game. Yeah, well, some people were blasting through the story as Sonic, others were spending their time here caring for their Chao. The Chao Garden is a virtual child simulator in a way, providing you with these Chaos that you're able to raise. You morph their personalities by the way you treat them and which animals you give them. You probably noticed that Sonic has been picking up these animals each time he kills an enemy, and this has an actual point. You can bring these animals back to the garden and give them to the Chao, who process their essence. This gains them both the skill and appearance of whichever animal it just sucked the soul from. Richard here ended up looking like a cross between a lion and a bird, and I'm sure depending on what the person feeds the Chao, it ends up looking that way, which is a really cool addition. These animals also reflect the environment they're put in. For example, you want your Chao to be a good flyer? Head on down to Windy Valley or Speed Highway. Both are located way above the ground, so naturally they have a lot of birds. You want a stronger swimmer type animal? Go to Emerald Coast, you'll get all kinds of fish there. This is such a cool detail because they could have easily made it randomized in each level, but no, they specifically did this so you could train your Chao in the way you want. It's all about the player here, and I really respect that. Once you feel your Chao is at a high enough level, which poor Richard definitely wasn't, you could head on down to the Chao races, which race in the events of strength, flying, swimming, and some other fourth thing. You could even cheer your Chao on, providing them with boosts, which is a nice way to keep the player involved. But that's not it for the Chao Garden, there's also a shop here as well, selling a whole lot of things like some Chao eggs, cosmetics, and some other stuff that I have no idea what it does. The items seem to shift frequently, inspiring you to come back from time to time to see what's in stock. This finally puts rings to a good use, having them actually result in something, which is such a great addition. Even more to the Chao Garden is the fact that there's 3 whole stages here, one Station Square, one in the Mystic Ruins, and one in the Egg Carrier. Each of these is pretty unique in their own ways, and is yet another moment of where player personalization shines through, letting the player decide which Chao gets to live where. I personally like Station Square the most, because it stops things like this from happening. Yeah, if a Chao is neglected enough they can turn evil? I don't really know, which is a good description of the Chao Garden as a whole. Reading through this monitor really displays to me the fact that I have only scraped the surface with this feature, which is by no means a bad thing. I'm glad there's a complete other side to this game I've never touched, cause maybe someday I'll get to truly see what I could do with this mode. Maybe someday real soon. But not today though, cause I have to spend an hour in Casinopolis. There's this cool little secret here that is, as you collect more and more rings, you get this premium gold statue of yourself, which is a really neat detail. All it takes is 5,000 rings. It doesn't actually do anything though, and the statue goes away once you leave the stage as well. Really worth it. Speaking of stages though, there was a whole alternate version of Windy Valley that didn't end up being included. This is a completely different stage from the one we got in the game, being much more open as well as providing new mechanics never used anywhere else. It's a pretty solid level by the looks of it, and I've heard people say they prefer it over the one we got because of all the alternate paths going on here. Though honestly, I disagree. There's a limit to how open I'd like things. This level feels a bit aimless in parts, and it doesn't really bring the speed that's brought in the final product. Also, the fact that this is the second stage would probably be a problem as well. I like this version, but I'm fine with the one we ended up getting. Both are good in different ways. Though I do gotta say, some parts of this seem very finished, if that makes any sense. I was going to talk about more unused or hidden stuff in this video, but I don't think you're here for that. Going back to the main game, you could also find emblems out in the adventure fields just by simple exploration, which is nice. It gives the hub worlds more of a reason to explore them, and that's appreciated. Oh, and speaking of emblems, as you get more and more, you progressively unlock Game Gear games that you can play at any time, which is a good enough reward for getting them, even if some of these games suck. Still a good addition though. And if you're wondering, the reward for getting all 130 emblems is to play as our Roboti nemesis, Metal Sonic. But I never fully completed the Chao Garden, so I wasn't able to get the last 5 emblems needed. What else we got here? Oh, apparently Cream could be seen in parts of Station Square. Really? I never saw her. Nor do I even know who this Cream is. Oh. Well, considering any idiot on the internet can fake anything, I don't quite believe this one. I'm gonna rule this myth busted. I've spent enough time on these additional additions, it's time for the real ending. So the beginning of this ending is that Eggman is on one of his nightly rounds in the Forest of the Mystic Ruins, when he sees chaos. Darkness, and now we're with redness and whiteness. It seems as though Angel Island's flow at the end of Knuckles' story was only temporary, because even though the Master Emerald was restored, the island is still falling. But Knuckles' inquiry is interrupted by Eggman, who led chaos right to him. Some more blackness, and we see Sonic laying around. But Tails quickly slides in to tell us that Angel Island is falling yet again, and we need to go talk to Knuckles to see what's up. And oh my god, I'm playing as Sonic. Oh my god, the spin dash. Jesus Christ, this is so beautiful. So, yeah, we end up going to Angel Island, and we see both Knuckles and Eggman laying on the floor. Funny how low Eggman has sunk since the beginning, huh? Turns out Chaos knocked them both out, and stole all 6 Chaos Emeralds Knuckles got earlier. Eggman runs off because he's not going to get away with this, and before we can even think of our next move, Tikal sends us to the past for one final flashback that ties the whole story together. Tikal stood in front of Poochie and his tribe, not letting them past, fearing the danger it'll cause. Packed Lunch doesn't care, however, and lets his troops give Tikal a little bump and lead themselves to the gold. But because of this collateral Chao genocide, Chaos is brought out and fulfills his duty to protect the Chao, by any means necessary. Shit. As we know, Tikal gets up and runs towards the emerald, and then finally realizes what her grandma was really trying to say all of those years ago. So she uses a combination of both the Chaos Emerald and the Master Emerald to stop Chaos, effectively putting his essence inside the emerald along with hers. After seeing all of these flashbacks now, I really like the way they handled them. Presenting them out of order let the audience form a timeline in their heads and wonder how things really happened, like how all the way back in Sonic's story we were sent here and now we finally know what happened to get to it. For the most part, the 6 separate stories thing isn't used in very complex ways other than just showing a character's story, which is a bit disappointing, but this is different. It lives off of you learning about what happened and wanting to know what caused it all to go to hell. That feeling of finally getting to figure it out is great, and I feel it's intentional. So we're taken out of the trance, which turns out lasted quite a bit because Knuckles already left, and we have to go find the last Chaos Emerald before Chaos does. We make it, but right before we're able to grab the emerald, Chaos beats us to the bop, taking the last thing he needed to finally unleash his full power. He uses this newfound omnipotence to absolutely level Station Square, flooding its streets and buildings and not caring about the well-being of anyone. This cutscene looks real, and it's spectacular, showing us exactly what Chaos is capable of, and we are definitely supposed to be seeing this. It's so really pretty. This, along with everything else, lets us know how much of a threat Chaos truly is and what godly destruction he can cause. And look at him, he means business. Well, maybe not out of cutscene, he just looks kinda silly here, but still the effect remains. Eggman swoops in the egg carrier too he just had lying around, and is here to destroy Chaos out of spite. Though his invisible lasers don't do much against Chaos' clearly visible one, so he gets a load of that. Sonic finally puts together the fact that our little glowy friend here is Tikal, allowing her to show her true form, which is Tikal. Yeah. She confirms that she did indeed seal both him and herself in the Master Emerald, and now that he's back out, he's proving a whole new danger to the world. Chaos then uses up the last of the emeralds as power, firing them off in different directions. It turns out the true reason he's mad is that Tikal only trapped him inside instead of reasoning with him, meaning that his anger stayed and he's just been lying in wait to have his chance again. But without having much of a platform to reason, that's the best she could do back then and the best we can do now. All of the characters from the other stories provide us with the emeralds, except Big, he's probably really enjoying all the fishing potential here. But yeah, other than him, the gang's all here. Tails tells us that Chaos only used the negative energy of the emeralds, that we're still able to utilize the positive. So, while the ghosts of Station Square cheer us on, we embrace the positive energy and become supersonic. And only we become super, no one else. Strength in numbers is a sham anyway, and this very real hedgehog leads us to the final boss, Perfect Chaos. This boss uses a whole new form of gameplay. No more do you have to use the homing attack or any of the regular moves, its main focus is speed, and it affects a lot about this fight. First of all, you have to be at a fast speed in order to bonk Chaos on the top of the head, and if you don't have a good speed, you'll just be flung out and have to start again. But in order to be going fast in the first place, you have to dodge Chaos' attacks, which starts off easy, but gets progressively harder. But not only all of that, you also have to keep Sonic's ring counter in check, as it goes down each second. All this creates a really engaging boss fight, and this music here works wonders too, as you can probably hear it right now. And while no, this isn't the most challenging boss fight in any way, its spectacle certainly makes up for that. And I gotta admit, it did get a bit tense there, with me ending off with only 5 rings. As a way to end the game, it works perfectly, fighting a boss that uses the best thing throughout the whole game, speed. After beating Chaos, he reverts back into his original form, seeing the Chaos he worked so hard to save still alive and well 4,000 years later, giving Chaos peace once more. Which is why he allows himself and Tikal to become one with the Master Emerald yet again.
All's well that ends well, right?
Well, not really, actually. That's good for Tikal and Chaos and all, but Station Square is still in ruins. In a way, didn't Eggman kinda win in the end? He wanted to destroy Station Square by giving the 7 emeralds to Chaos, and that's exactly what happened. So I guess Sonic was not the hero to stop it. And yet again, he kinda just lets Eggman get away. Always next time, though? Honestly, this ending is kind of funny when you think about it, especially the way everyone's so nonchalant about the whole city being destroyed. It's a big story misstep, yeah, but I don't really care. The real focus was on Tikal and Chaos, and that got a good conclusion, so I'm happy. And that's the end of the game. Now, after going through all of these stories, experiencing nearly everything the game has to offer, what is my final verdict? Well, it doesn't matter. This game is fully dependent on your preferences. Even if you prefer the gameplay of Sonic or absolutely despise the gameplay of Big, the game accounts for this. If you don't want to play Big, then just don't play Big. You want to just focus on Sonic? The game is full-heartedly okay with that. This game truly relies on player choice in what you want in a game. If you really want to know what I thought of each character's stories, then it's right there in the playlist. The biggest reason I did the videos in this style is because I view each story as a separate game of sorts. And yes, clearly the game is supposed to be fully played from Sonic's perspective. He has the most stages, the most cutscenes, the most character interactions, he has everything. But all the other characters are there to fill out the game and provide more options, only having to be played if you like them. It's all about what the player wants. That's why it pains me when I hear people say they only like half of the game, because they're viewing it in a closed-minded sense. The game could be whatever you want it to be, whether that be only Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles' parts, or just Big's parts, or some weird combination of Amy and Gamma, it's all up to you. I see how this could appear as me telling you to just ignore the bad parts of the game, but that's not it at all. You're allowed not to like parts of this game, I didn't too, but the game never forces you to play any story other than Sonic's, so I generally don't see how these other gameplay types are a problem if you don't even have to play them. And before you say you do have to play these characters to get the true ending, no you don't. Each one of these characters have their own stories with their own endings that are all satisfying in their own right. If you feel required to get the last story segment, then I think that's a testament to the game. If it's keeping you interested, even through the bad bits, it has to be doing something right. But even if you disagree with all of this, let me ask you something. Would you rather have a game that took risks and tried to vary its gameplay styles, or a game that conformed to its predecessors and reused the exact same levels with nearly identical movesets? Because this game could have easily been just like the classics, where they just changed the character and some story things slightly. But the team wanted more than that. They wanted to provide the player with tons of choices on how to play the game. They did just that. I truly think that almost any person could find some type of joy with this game, whether that be with Sonic and Tails' speed, Knuckles' exploration, Big's fishing, Gamma's shooting, the Chao Garden, Casinopolis, Sky Chase, Twinkle Circuit, piecing the story together, and I'm sure there's some other 10th thing I'm forgetting. It just comes down to what you like, that's all I'm trying to say here. Calling this game innovative is an understatement. It does so many different things that so many different people can enjoy. It all depends on you.